G'day guys, this is the part 2 of the GPX6000 modification or quietening or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I have done the shielding on this side of the board, and I have installed those fully shielded inductors there. I've actually just tacked some, well, when these things were made, it came out with some sort of hot melt glue or some sort of plastic enclosure over these inductors. So what I've done, I've just actually gone around with some hot melt glue, just in case it's microphonic. That will help absorb any audio or any vibration traveling through the board and getting into the inductors. You know, it's interesting how it even worked, and that's the shielding there on this part of the circuit board where we had that. It looks like actually this device under here is a DAC, and where those two inductors were replaced, and I've added some extra shielding there, replaced the inductors with some really good embedded ferrite inductors, which will also help dampen anything to do with microphonics in that area. I'm not sure if it is microphonics as such. I think it could be some sort of inductive coupling or something. There's some feedback happening between the speaker or the flexible mylar strip that runs down in proximity here. There's something going on, but you know, it's going to take a lot of investigation to find that. I'll probably have to have a portable oscilloscope out in the field, crank everything up and see if I can reproduce it. But apart from that, I have noticed a couple of other things. You know, I sort of go over this and spot the obvious. This plastic clip here, cable tie it is, actually it hits the bottom of the, it's mounted in this position, it actually hits the bottom of the enclosure that this slides into and actually twist the board that way a little bit. Don't know if it's going to do anything, probably not, but it is flexing the board. And what I would do with this is put it in the vertical position. There's far more space on the inside of the board, and push it around, something like that, so it's not going to rest on it. When it goes in now, I should have showed before, but I can't sort of work this in front of the camera. It's a bit difficult, but I don't know if you can see down there. There's a lot of room around that cable tie on the left-hand side of the box, whereas before it was sitting on the bottom here, and it was pushing the board, giving it a bit of a twist like that. So that's something you could do. It's not probably really important, but I have noticed another thing. This reminds me, going back to the GP and GPX detectors, when they went to great trouble on the detectors of putting a aluminium foil type shield on the detectors. I'll just get one and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I can use that one. There we go. Yeah, the aluminium shield here, well, basically it was meant to go on the edge of the case. And in the early days, what I noticed is that all along here is painted. Okay? And when you put the screws in, have a look at that. When you put the screws through, they don't touch the aluminium foil, and that side is plastic. There's no path of conductivity from that aluminium shield to the detector. So what I noticed, I'd made a video about this years and years and years ago, and then I noticed that Minelab started doing that on one post or one screw-in mount to give it earthing from the case to the aluminium. Is it critical? Is there enough capacitive coupling along the painted surface? You know, no, you really want an electrical connection there. You want a hard, good electrical connection. A lot of detectors came out. I think it was just the GPs, I think. Then they fixed it up in the later detectors by, if I remember rightly, I'll put that back. Yeah, in the Mylar design, they actually have an earth here for the detector, and they shave it on the box right there, so it makes a hard connection. So yeah, that's just one of the things. All the GP detectors had a floating sort of an earth. The box wasn't actually grounded to anything. It's just the way it was. If you find very early GP detectors, you'll go along the painted surface on the ends of the boxes, and there'll be nothing ground off. There's no connection. And what have we done here? Well, this is going to be interesting. Let's put my El Cheapo BP multimeter on, because the Fluke one, you know, the one that costs megabucks, hasn't got a beep function, no continuity. So I'll use this. I'll use a $10 Digitech. But inside the box, the housing, I'll move that down a little bit more so you can see. It's painted with a conductive paint. Um, if you mark it, it makes silver lines. It's graphite of some description, I would say. But here, I think I've found a similar problem that happened on all the GP detectors before they realised to take the paint off. Now, here we have the input connector, and it is a black anodized nut sitting here, and anodized whatever it is, aluminium, steel, who knows what's under the anodized paint. But where this sits, now this is going to be interesting. I don't know if this is a critical issue or not, but you can see down the hole there that the nut sits in that recess, okay? But it's anodized. So is this shielding a floating shield? There's no provision for grounding on this. You see, it stops. The paint stops around there. There's nothing mounts to it. The only thing that could possibly connect to it is that anodized nut, right? And the outside of this would be normally an earth point or ground point. That I can actually prove out. Let's see if it actually is, or the outside is floating as well. Bear with me. I'm going to keep moving this down. One man show here, no camera crew. So if we go to an earth point, like on the back of the board here, there we go. We'll get that in frame. Okay, that is ground. This is ground, a ground point. So it makes sense that this should be connected to all this black shield. Okay. Now this is the tricky bit to show you this, but I'm going to try and do it. So we'll get one multimeter lead and we'll stick it, hold it down inside the box. And you can see it's got some black paint around there, or I think it's either it's just the plastic that hasn't been painted with the blue. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but there's no conductivity. Now on the lip, inside lip of this, there is no conductivity. No beeps. Oh, okay, now watch what happens. I push this in to the side of the nut recess, but there's nothing where the flat of the nut touches, and where the outside part of the nut into that recess, it's a sloppy fit. There's no hard continuity there. It's not a push in hard fit. It's loose. And I'll just show you this. Okay, I'll put that in. Now, there we go. That just wobbles around. That's no hard. I can move it left and right, so it's not a hard fixture. Now, there's an easy way to prove this. I'll put a nut on the end of this. I will do it up and see if we have ground continuity. So bear with me while I get the tray of bits. Now, also got to remember, the retaining nut is also anodized. The inside part may connect, but you know, this is in a lot of cases just wishful thinking, isn't it? So I'll screw this on. Now, even though it's finger tight, it's pretty tight. My fingers are pretty tough from doing up lots of nuts and undoing screws for many, many, many years. I haven't got my tube socket here. Hang on a second. I'll do it. I'll nip it up anyway, just to prove a point. Hang on a second. If I remember the size of these. Hang on a sec. Is that the right size? Okay. 24 mil. So don't do it up too tight, just enough. Don't want to crack the plastic. Okay, this will be proof of the pudding. I haven't done this before, but we want to see continuity. So I'll go on the earth point here. No continuity. Oh yeah, hang on, I've got to break through that anodizing. Okay, if I push hard through the anodizing, it does connect. But it must be the side of the nut, even though it's anodized, somehow, by the grace of God, causing a connection. So let's just wiggle it around a bit and see if we've still got a connection. It's a dicky connection there, for sure. If that nut was, maybe it's just twisted inside the box a little bit and is causing a connection, because there's no graphite on the part where it bites. Now, I'll just loosen this off. I'll just make it finger tight again. These do become loose because the plastic is under compression, and over time the plastic gives way and the nuts become loose. So maybe it's an idea always give that a go with a correct size spanner. Don't use pliers on it and that sort of stuff, guys, because if you slip doing this up with a pair of pliers, sorry, the nut, you can see it, there's on a bit of an angle, but if you slip or use anything that slides off this and gouges the threads, you'll never get your damn coil connector on again. It'll be difficult, it'll bind, it'll be horrible, it'll go to hell. So we don't want to do that. Okay, we'll try again. I've just got this nut finger tight. Get back on the earth point. I just thought of something. It's actually a hard physical connection between there and there. I want to do the ferrite, don't I? The paint, the graphite. Silly me. My God. Talk about getting ahead of yourself. Okay, we'll go on the graphite paint and do it. We'll see if we've got a continuity. Okay, I'm on the graphite paint. Make sure I'm on the graphite paint. Okay. You can't see, but I'm on the... I'll just move this a little bit. I think I have to... I'm not zoomed in, am I? No. Yeah, there we are. I just zoomed out a little bit. Didn't know it zoomed out. I thought it was zoom in and normal. Okay, if you can see there, the anodizing is not there, okay? And I'll go in here on the paint and move it a bit so you can see I'm actually on the paint. No continuity whatsoever. So the assembly is floating in that graphite spray-on shielding paint, which is on the inside of the box. Now, what I'll do, just to prove it, I'll nip it up again with a spanner because I've got this tight, finger tight. So we'll just try it again. I think this might be important. This might be important and might need to be rectified. So go from there to the graphite. Nothing. It's floating. So this could be a replay of the GP fiasco we had years and years and years ago. There's nothing there. As I say, that paint is fully conductive, but I've got nothing. We'll go to the earth point here. There's nothing there. Okay. Dear me. I think on this one, this is my own opinion, my thoughts, right? That should be connected. This should be connected to the graphite paint. It may need that inner graphite, the inner anodized nut replaced with a cadmium plated nut to make a connection, or if that's not the issue, because the paint is missing from where the nut recess is, so it can't connect. Maybe it needs someone with I've got some shielding paint here which got very, very low ohms. I might just get a long painters, like an artist's paintbrush, and just paint the inner of that and join it on the outer, and change that nut to a CAD plated one so we get good continuity through the shielding. Now, that's my take on it. It should be earthed. But how about we contact Minelab and ask them? Maybe there's a reason that it's floating. I myself don't understand that, because in the same breath they they went to the trouble of grinding the paint off the GP boxes to make a connection. So, dear me, what a dilemma! What a dilemma! So, is it meant to be connected or not? That is the big question. There's no other way. There's no paint around any of these posts here. That's only a gasket. This thing here, it's not conductive. It's not conductive rubber or anything like that. It's just rubber. So just prove that out. Yeah, there's nothing there. So what do we think about that, guys? I'll bring this. Oh, I can't bring that down. It's stuck. I don't know if the camera's picking up too good where the paint finishes. You can see there the paint, and then it's just blue plastic here. I'll just check. We'll just check this part as well. There's nothing that can connect from the back part and make contact with that graphite carbon based paint. So even even though this part's shielded but not grounded, right, along here, it's shielded but not grounded. That might be an issue. The back part here, there is no shielding whatsoever unless they used a graphite loaded plastic, which we can prove that out. I'll just put my multimeter onto 2 million ohms. No, there's no reading on that whatsoever. I don't know if you can see that. The trouble doing all the stuff. Yeah, there we go. There's no reading on there at all. So this isn't shielded. But I've got to say this. The noisy part of the detector, from what I can tell, where these microphonics come from, is here, right? And this is unshielded to the real world. Does anything here get back into the coil? I don't know. But, it's, like I say, I didn't design it, but if I did design it, I would have this grounded. It would be grounded because, what's a floating shield going to do? Righto. So, how about I'll go and contact Minelab. I'll give them a phone call and I'll see if I can get some feedback on this. It's very hard to talk to anyone in Minelab. Usually get through to the office lady, and that's where it stops. But we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Used to be able to, when Minelab was Minelab, it wasn't owned by Coden. You could actually talk to people in the company many times. I bring up and talk to the techs, or talk to someone in the engineering department. Um, you know, Probably too many people did it and wasted all their time and it got no work done, because that happens to me. I get lots of phone calls. I don't get any work done. So that's why I've diverted all my phone calls to David. David handles everything now. So, he does a lot of things, but he's also getting peppered with phone calls. But that allows me to continue my research and development on the detectors. If I was answering the phone all day, well, you wouldn't see anything new. Everything would be undiscovered. So yeah. So if you want to know anything, like David flicks me emails and things, so I can quickly answer technical questions. But I don't want to get caught on the phone, because I'm guilty of this, right? I used to ring when I was 18 and 19, around those ages when I first started detecting. My God, one of the a tech guy who I got to know very, very well. He's a very, very nice guy. It's actually Rowan from Nugget Finder's dad. And yeah, what I used to ring him up and yeah, I'd chew his ear off for about an hour on the phone. He'd get no work done. And yeah, but you know, at that time, we're all hungry for information. And yeah, Barry, God rest his soul, he was a very clued up fellow. And obviously, if it wasn't for Barry being involved with metal detectors and having his shop in Wedderburn in Victoria many, many years ago, he was actually, did TVs and things, but he got into metal detecting, but he's a cluey guy. And Rowan being his son, obviously he got into making coils with his old man, and that's why you have Nugget Finder coils. That's where all that comes from. So yeah, that's going back 78, 79, 1980, around there, long time ago. There I go. I'm getting off track here again, aren't I? But okay, we have to go and do some investigation why this is not grounded. Will it make any difference if it is grounded? This is where you need two detectors, an A and B, and run them out with the same, swap them with exactly the same coil, same settings, and test them all at the same time. But what's the time in South Australia? They're what, an hour and a half behind. So maybe they're there, maybe not. But I'm gonna make a phone call about this and find out because I think it's a need to know, not just she'll be right, mate. We'll just leave it go. I really think that this should be looked at. And the other thing I'd say too, it's not what I would. It's not in my opinion, it's not a recall issue, right? This is not a recall issue. I don't think it's that serious. But then again, I'm only guessing because I haven't done the hard tests. But if you wanted to, there you go. I'm telling everyone to void their warranty, aren't I? Now we're getting between a rock and a hard place. But these are very easy to pull apart with a bit of common sense. The only thing is, the critical thing is to lift this without breaking it to get that out. That's a critical thing. And when you put it in, you push it back down. Well, screws come out easy. Just don't go rip the mylar to pieces. That's embarrassing if you do that. And the only other thing you need to do is take that nut off, and this will slide out. It's very easy to service, easy to work on. Um, you know, they've got their security sticker here, which does nothing. I mean, it looks pretty, but it doesn't cover any removable plastic, so you don't separate it and you don't wreck your security sticker pulling it apart, which is different than how things have been in the past. It's just basically it shows that it's a genuine Minelab product, but you know that other country, they love copying things and make it look exactly the same. You wouldn't know. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a dilemma here about the grounding. Should I? What I'll do, I'll kill the video. I will get onto Minelab and I'll get a definitive answer. The trouble is that it's probably going to bounce around the tech department and the engineering department for a while and see what they come back with. But I'm intrigued why it's not grounded. So if you were worried yourself, you could probably pull your own detector apart. You'd basically what I would do, right, on the inside nut, I would just get some sandpaper, some wet and dry, and I would just get the face of the nut and just do this on the thing till I got the anodizing off back to bare metal. I would then give it a bit of treatment with a little bit of grease so it doesn't oxidize. Don't slaver it on, but just a film of grease, or even probably silicone spray, just a little bit. So protected from, if you've got, different materials like aluminium or steel or whatever touching, even graphite or carbon paint, if there's any atmospheric moisture or whatever gets in there, it's going to start acting like an anode and a cathode and chews out. You've got to protect it. So you protect it from moisture getting in. And I think silicon is a good idea. You could probably use petroleum jelly too, just a little bit. Don't get it everywhere. Makes a mess. I'm just trying to cover all bases. If you wanted to do it yourself, if you got enough gonads to do that, go and do it. But don't wreck your detector. I'm not saying go and do it, but anyone technically competent who works in this field can do that. Someone with a little bit of skill can do that for sure. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it, because you're going to damage it. The main thing people will damage, they'll use a pair of pliers and gouge that without using the proper size spanner. Tube spanner's the best because you can't slip, right? And not removing this properly and ripping it. The main problem with these Mylars, right, I'll just point this out, is in the curvature here and here and there. If it gets the slightest nick on this, it rips through like paper, and that's your tracks. All these are your tracks, conductive tracks. Battery powered data, audio lines, display head, everything. You rip through that, the detector's going to die. It's not going to work. You're going to have to get a new one. And I bet you these are expensive. If they'll sell you one, I don't know if they will or they won't. Maybe, maybe not. How long till the Chinese start putting these on aftermarket? Huh? You've got the other ones. They've got all the GPX ones aftermarket. So how long till they put these out aftermarket? They'll probably see this video and start doing it, won't they? Yeah, but be careful. All the pins here, you start flexing that, it's going to cause stresses. It's when you manufacture something, this type of Mylar circuit trace is really, really good. It makes for fast assembly, gets the time out of it. It's very efficient, but it's freaking flimsy. I don't like it. I never have liked it. I used to do, back in the dark ages, I used to do a lot of car radios, and they used to use this stuff in it. And my God, vibration, in the car. And what'd you find? All this here would all fall apart. It'd all be unsoldered and rip through. And yeah, but that is typical. Like a lot of the displays in car radios were all Mylar connected, and you'd have the LED digits, or even I'm going back ages and ages ago, and they had LEDs on them. This stuff here would fail, and you start losing segments. And yeah, don't get me onto LCDs. That's another thing. Many years ago, I used to make LCD displays for petrol pumps in another life. So I'll leave it there. I'm going to go and make a phone call. I think they'll be in their office, and then I'll make another video and I'll give you the update on what they say, and then I'll give you my opinion on what to do. Catches.